Well, we want to give some of your questions honest answers. And Pat, this first one comes from Josie, who says, when we're in heaven, will we remember things on earth and people we love? If not, that's just a sad thought to me. I want to remember things and the people I love and care about.
Well, Jesus gave a parable about a rich man and a beggar, and it says that the rich man died, and well, he was in Abraham's bosom, and he was wherever, and he said, let me go and tell my brothers on earth how bad it is here so they'll be warned. And of course, Abraham said, look, they've got the scriptures, Moses and the prophets, and they won't listen if somebody rose from the dead. So in other words, that man knew about his brothers, knew about his family, knew about Abraham. So they were totally conscious of who they were and what had happened in the past. So you ask me, will you forget all that? The answer is no. All right?
This is Robin, who says, it's been a rough past 10 months after filing for divorce. My 5 kids and I left our home to go to a rental last August. My ex has done everything he can to take everything away from me, our family business, my home, and he will not accept that I'm divorcing him. I got a letter by certified mail this past Friday saying I had 3 days to pay last month's rent or we will have to leave our home. That is today. I owe $1,200 for February and $1,200 for March. I'm scared and I'm begging for prayers for my kids and myself. What can I do?
Well, I think what you need to do is to get a lawyer. I mean, your spouse is obviously taking advantage of you. And, you know, we do have courts and we do have a legal process. And what he's doing is wrong. It's unlawful. And you can seek redress. I don't know why in the world you waited this long to do that. And I would counsel you, if you can, pay the back rent at least enough to stay in your house. I don't know if you can scrape up $1,200, but somebody. But you're awfully late in the proceedings asking for help. You could have gone to a church. Possibly your church has a fund for somebody like you that's in dire straits. Or you could borrow from somebody. But it's kind of late to do it. But you really need to pay those things, or they'll kick you out on the street, regardless of what your family situation. But you need a lawyer, okay?
Okay, this is Nico, who says, I recently lost a friend to suicide, and I feel like we could have gotten him some help if we knew he was depressed. I was wondering if you could talk about depression and suicide warning signs to look out for.
Listen, the thing that you find in suicide is that people will give over and over again, they'll send signals. I'm sick of life. I can't stand what's going on. I'm so depressed. I feel so sad. I'm sad all the time. Depression is real. It's a clinical thing. It's not just an emotional reaction. And in some cases, it can be demonic, but I think in many cases, it's a chemical imbalance that causes a severe loss of self-confidence, and it needs to be dealt with. So you need to have professional help, and I don't know what else to tell you, but that's where you start. All right.
This is James, who says, at the cross, Jesus said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. He's talking of the Roman soldiers who crucified him. But does this include the Pharisees, those of whom he had said earlier that they had blasphemed the Holy Spirit?
Look, the Bible doesn't say who's involved. He's not talking necessarily about those Roman soldiers. They didn't know what they were doing. I think he's talking about the people who, you know, probably the leaders of Israel who gave him over to the Romans to be crucified. But there was a whole mob of people. So is he talking about Pharisees? I don't think so. I mean, who's to say who he had in mind? He says, forgive them. They don't know what they were doing. Well, I think the mob that was crying out for him to be crucified didn't realize that he was the Son of God. But the Pharisees, I mean, I don't know, and there's no way of telling because the Bible doesn't tell us.